Hey guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. Today I'm going to be doing my March plan with me. So you can see I'm kind of going with a bee theme here. As far as materials go, I am going to be I went ahead and picked up some Crayola colored pencils, so I have those. I also have some of my Crayola Super Tips markers that I pulled out. I have these brush pens that I got on Amazon. They're just random. They're called Smart Color Art. They have a brush pen on one side and a fine liner on the other. So I just kind of went through all of my pens and picked out any yellow or brown, that color. I also have some of my Papermate Flare pens here in a couple different yellow colors. And then I also have my Micron pens that I use every single time, and just in a variety of different widths. And then I may also use my Uniball gel pen in silver for the bee's wings. I'll see if I decide to use that or not. And then my pencil and my trusty eraser. I also have a pink eraser in here, which I may use as well. It just depends on what I'm in the mood for as I get going. So let's get into this. So I'm getting started here on my title page. Like I said, we're going to be doing a bee theme. I'm just outlining everything in black, and then I'm going to be using my flare pens to outline the honeycombs and colored pencils to color them in a little bit. And yeah, and then I'll do a brush tip pen for the lettering. All right, and then we're moving on to my stats page. Ideally, I wouldn't be putting my stats page at the beginning of my monthly spreads, but that's just the way it ended up working out this month. This is where it fit best, so I just went with it. It's fine. So I just ended up using a brush pen again here for the title, and then I'm going to be outlining each of these honeycombs. I did a little bit of a different layout this month to kind of incorporate the hexagon shapes, and kind of went with this little area that I will outline each of them, and then I will write in the middle of it what it is. Each grouping is like, I have a grouping for format and a grouping for source and a grouping for rating and et cetera, et cetera. So you'll see that as I kind of fill out the title of the grouping, and then I will write inside the hexagon what is actually I'm going to be tallying in it, and then I will tally in black on top of whatever I wrote. So I thought that that would be just kind of a fun, different way. With the ratings, I did 5, and then my 1-star rating, I will end up cutting that in half and doing my DNFs with that. And then at the bottom, I have my genres. I'm once again not going to fill those in until after I start reading, so I know which genres I need to write out, and if I need more space, I will cut them in half as well. It just kind of depends on what I read throughout the month as far as how many genre spaces I'm going to need. So I did allow for that within this as well. All right, and then we're moving on to the next page. This first page is going to be my spring TBR. Each season I do seasonal TBRs, and so it is time for spring. My spring TBR starts in March, so I figured I would do a page for that. I have 16 books on my spring TBR, so I made a spot for each of those. And once again, just outlining in black and then coloring these in colored pencil. I wasn't exactly thrilled with the way that this one turned out, but it's fine. It'll work. I do the titling with a flare pen. And I think the flare pen mixed with the colored pencil for the shading and the honeycombs just didn't quite get the look that I was hoping for. So I may go back and tweak this one a little bit eventually, but for now, it'll do. All right, and then on this next page, it's just going to be my list of books I want to read, pictures I want to take for Instagram, and videos that I want to film for YouTube. These are books that are outside of readathons that I'm doing. So this month, my major readathon that I'm going to be participating in is Middle Grade March, and honestly, that will consume the vast majority of my reading. However, there are just a couple of books outside of Middle Grade March that I do need to get read, so I figured I would have a spot here to list out what I need to read. And then, like I said, picture ideas that I would like to take for Instagram, and then all the videos that I would like to film this month. Here's a spot for me to write them all down and then mark them off as I get them accomplished. All right, and now we're moving on to my posting schedule. This is just this place for me to write down posts that I make on Instagram and YouTube. As I'm making them, I'm writing down what days I'm posting on, just so that I have like a visual picture of when things are going up and planning in advance for when I would like to post things. I started doing this last month and it really worked well for me as far as a visual aid. It didn't really work well as far as getting me to post on a regular schedule, but we're working on it one thing at a time. So with this, I love the way that I laid the spread out. I wasn't thrilled with the way that it turned out once I started shading in the background. And you'll see that here in a little bit. Once I get done outlining everything, I end up shading the background in with colored pencil, and I just really don't like the way that it ended up looking. I'm realizing that I am not very skilled with colored pencil. And so when I see something colored in colored pencil and I think that it looks really cool, I don't have the skill set yet to execute it quite the way that I'm seeing it. And so I'm trying to reevaluate and just kind of learn a little bit more about working with colored pencils, but also knowing in advance that things aren't going to appear the way that I may envision them initially. So with this is one of those instances. And like I said, I may go back and tweak this one eventually, but for now, it'll work. It just didn't quite turn out the way that I was really hoping it would. I will put in the description box down below all of the Pinterest pictures where I got the ideas for all of these different spreads, because I am by nature not a very creative person, but I do really good at getting ideas from other places and then executing them and putting my own spin on them. So I did get a lot of ideas for all of these spreads for the theme for this month from Pinterest. And so I will link pictures that I can down below in the description box, because I definitely do not want to take credit for coming up with any of these ideas, because hardly any of them were mine. All right, and then we're moving on to my middle grade March spread. Middle grade March, like I said, is my primary readathon that I'm doing this month. It's the only readathon that I'm doing this month. But middle grade March consumes pretty much my entire reading in March. I absolutely love it. If you're unfamiliar with what middle grade March is, it is a readathon that is hosted by Krista from Books and Jams and Katie at Life Between Words. I will leave links to all the information about it down below in the description box. But it's basically a readathon just to encourage adults to read middle grade. And this is the third year that they've been doing it, and it just is an awesome, awesome thing that they've started and that they've been able to accomplish with it. So anyway, I just kind of put a center spread in here with the honeycomb and the title, and then I'll have my TBR on one side where I'll list out all of the books that I would hope to get through this month. And then on the right, I'm putting all of the books that I actually read. So I just kind of like having that with readathons, books that I'm hoping to get to, and then what I actually end up reading, because it's not typically what I'm planning on reading. I tend to add things throughout the month that weren't on my original TBR, but that still count for the readathon and for specific challenges in the readathon. So I wanted to make sure that I had a space for that. I last year read, I think, 28 books during this readathon, so it will be a pretty extensive list going in on both sides of this. I have a lot of books on my TBR, and I have a lot of books that I will probably end up reading. So I just wanted a big open space that I could just list it out. I'll have to write small, and I will probably, on the TBR side, highlight things as I'm finishing them so that I don't have to put in little check boxes. But yeah, so I love the way that this one ended up turning out, the final product with this. I just thought it looked so cute with all the little bees in the middle. And yeah, so anyway, that is what I put together for my middle grade March spread. All right, and then we are moving on to my last spread of the month, and this is my reading log and my growing TBR lists. I just wanted to do something once again fairly simple. At this point, I started kind of burning out. I had been sitting down working on this for multiple hours, and you'll notice here coming up that the lighting starts to shift quite a bit because the sun starts to set and I start getting a huge sun glare across the page. So I apologize for that. I didn't realize it was happening until after it got pretty bad. And so it gets bad and then it gets corrected because I closed the blinds. So anyway, but these lists are just going to be the list of all the books that I read throughout the month. I may end up only listing the books that are not part of middle grade March and just kind of combining the two when I go to my stats, because there will be so many other books on the middle grade March list, and I don't really need to write them out twice. But regardless, I wanted a spot for me to be able to write down any additional books that I read throughout the month, as well as my growing TBR list. If you're unfamiliar with my growing TBR, it is a video that I do every month where I go through all of the books that I add to my Goodreads TBR throughout the month, and I mention who I got the idea from, where I got the recommendation from, the channel, the Instagram account, the website, whatever it is. And so I always need a place to be able to write down that information. And so I want to be able to have that in my bullet journal. So anyway, this is kind of what I came up with here. I outlined in bubble letters the titles of the page, and then I will shade around them in a yellow color. And I thought it was really cute the way it ended up turning out. And then just added, once again, the little bees and the honeycomb. I started coloring in with the super tip markers instead of the colored pencils. I found that I prefer the more bold colors. And they color a lot faster and a lot easier. So once again, without having that skill set of being able to use the colored pencils correctly, I think I might just stick with using the super tips from now on. But anyway, so I really like, once again, I like the way that this spread ended up turning out. Okay, and then I needed to do my doodle for my 2020 title page. Every month I add a little doodle for my theme for the month. And so this month I just did a couple of little honeycombs and a little bee really quick. All right, and here we have the final flip through. We have my March title page, which I love, and my stats page, so that I can just kind of tally what I read throughout the month, my spring TBR list, and my checklists for books, videos, and pictures that I would like to accomplish throughout the month, my posting schedule so that I can write down what I'm posting on Instagram and YouTube as I'm posting it and just kind of get a visual for that. We have my middle grade March spread for my TBR and the books that I read for the readathon. And then we have my reading log and my growing TBR lists. So that's it for my March plan with me. I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya!